Doesn't get any more candid than this. Schmuck sitting in front of a completely white wall, sitting in his bed, talking to a camera. For those that don't know me, hi, I am Max, and I am almost 30, as I'm sure you read in the title. I will be 30 next year in April. So I have a little bit more than a half a year, give or take, so somewhere in there. I did try to record this one other time, but I can't help myself, man. If I start yapping too much, then it gets. Anyways, uh, I'm sure you can tell by the format of this video. This is going to be very unprofessional, unscripted, and unedited yap session. So I apologize in advance. I'm going to do my darndest to keep it brief and just kind of talk about where I'm coming from and all that stuff. And maybe you can relate. I don't know. But to give you some context, I have been a creative all my life, ever since I was mentally cognizant and gave myself permission to create things, And I have created things in a multitude of different um, outlets, creative outlets. But the big one is filmmaking. I have been a filmmaker, or have called myself a filmmaker, since 2015. So over a decade now, I have been making films. In that time span, I have made 13 short films, written and directed. I've produced like countless others for my friends and all of that, but the ones that I would consider mine, 13, and one feature film. And I am extremely proud of all of them for different reasons. And it's kind of a weird time capsule because you can kind of see my creative growth ever since then. But how this fits into YouTube is that I have been on and off YouTube, both as a viewer and as a creator, since 2007. So not quite the beginning, but give or take about the beginning. And I never really thought of myself like, oh yeah, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up, or anything like that. I was never like that. I was always in some fashion being a filmmaker. I was much more interested in that. But I'll be honest, I was never looking at, like, for example, Spielberg and Tarantino and being like, yo, I want to be like them. I never truly knew the type of filmmaker or director that I wanted to be. I just knew that I wanted to make movies and get them seen by as many people as possible. So around 2023, this is mid 2023, I had just graduated from graduate school with a filmmaking degree, a master's in fine arts in film. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but bear with me here. It was the first time in my life since I was probably like 2. So again, before I was mentally cognizant. So it was the first time that I had a full prefrontal cortex, and I was like, I am not enrolled in any education system for the first time since I could even formulate memories. And I have no idea what to do with myself now. Now, the obvious thing in my profession would be just go make the next movie. But to give you some context, I was in the process of making this first feature film. It was my thesis film for graduate school, but I had only put together the like ugliest rough cut of this thing. Because I had just finished filming it, and some parts weren't even filmed yet. Like, there were whole sections of the movie that weren't even edited. I just had like a giant block of text saying, put this scene here, make sure that it's super dramatic and blah blah blah, or whatever the hell I said. So I wasn't exactly in a position to make the next movie, but I was recently graduated and in the process of making that movie. Fast forward to mid 2025, last year, I had spent 2 years in the editing room making this thing come to life. And it was finally ready around May of 2025. And I held a test screening for the very first time. This was the first time I ever showed it to an audience of friends and family. Over 100 people came to the screening to support me, which I'm very thankful for. That was June 2025. And then I creatively, like I like to describe it as like the rising action, right? So here's me in 2023, right? Like there was already a giant piece of momentum like snowballing, and me in the edit room for 2 years getting this thing to like where it needed to be to show it to an audience, and boom, it explodes in this like climax of emotion in June of 2025 when I did the screening. And then like just like creatively I shut off. And around this time was also the time where I was looking to kind of restart my life, so to speak. And I moved states. And so those two things combined basically put my mental health in the shitter. There's no other way to describe it. I was burnt out creatively, and I was burnt out mentally and physically. I don't know how y'all feel about moving, like physically moving from one location to the next, but for me, and not to be dramatic, but I'm gonna be dramatic, it always feels like a Harry Potter Horcrux, like my soul splits in two, because you are taking your safe space, the place that you live, the place that you feel most comfortable, and you are stripping that away temporarily to set up a new safe space, which is not fully set up yet. So you are essentially leaving yourself in this weird limbo state where you don't really have a safe place to come home to yet. And it genuinely feels like here's caterpillar, here's butterfly, and then here's like chrysalis. It feels like you are exposing yourself. You are exposing your chrysalis stage to the world. Like here's my gooey insides while they're still morphing into a butterfly. Like here, everybody look, here's a bunch of moving boxes and whatever. I hate it. I hate it so very much. But it needs to get done, right? So how does YouTube fit into all of this? Well, since 2023, I had tossed around the idea of making YouTube videos again for a completely different audience. I fell in love with these YouTubers that were also filmmakers. They were like filmmakers first, YouTubers second. And I was like, this is like such a cool concept. Like you can connect with an audience that has no idea who you are and show them like, hey, here's me, here's who I am, and here's this thing that I made, this film. And if they like that, maybe they'll subscribe and stick around for the next one. Like I loved that concept, but I promised myself I wouldn't jumpstart that until I had finished this feature film, because that was like the biggest project to this date. It's the biggest project I've ever worked on in my life. And I knew that if I tried to do YouTube at the same time, it wouldn't happen. Like both of those things would, go to head and just not, it would be too much work. So I was like, okay, let's put this on the back burner, the YouTube thing, and finish the feature film first. So I did. And once again, creatively, mentally, and physically burnt out mid 2025. Crashed, right? And I spent the better like last quarter-ish of 2025 just staying in that state. And it sucked, but I was mature enough at the time to realize that I wasn't a failure for feeling like this. Like I, had put so much effort into this and now I needed a break. But it did kind of turn into like a decently large depressive episode, which sucked. And of course, seasonal depression doesn't help either. As the days, LMAO, my iPad ran out of storage, as I was saying. So as the days got shorter, my depressive episode got a little stronger, right? But I knew that I wanted to do something with New Year's resolutions. And once again, like I knew that I wanted to start YouTube and just see and like zero stakes, just see what happened, right? So I promised myself, I was like, okay, you're finished with this feature film now. Let's see what happens. So I did the Matt Pat method. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Matt Pat method, but essentially he says don't launch a channel with 0 or 1 video only. Launch it with at least 5 videos so that when people see one video, they get recommended these other ones if they go out at the same time. And then it basically tells the algorithm automatically, hey, this is a channel worth recommending. Which is so ironic because it's the complete opposite of what I'm doing with this channel. But hopefully you can kind of see at this point, this is the low stakes, like anything goes, full candid, like, I didn't even do my hair. It is 5 in the morning where I am right now. And I'm just recording this on a whim. So yeah, okay, so sorry, I haven't taken my ADHD meds, so I'm just a little bit like I'm trying to keep on track. But yeah, so the type of content that I wanted to make was I loved 2 things. One is like that filmmaking sort of like guru type thing where they're like, here's how I made a film with only me and and whatever, and it's sponsored by Hollyland, like whatever, the type of filmmaker I'm talking about, or the type of YouTube channel I'm talking about. It's like those filmmakers that were filmmakers first and then they were YouTubers. But I also really fell in love with the Drew Gooden, Danny Gonzalez, Curtis Connor commentary style, where they they were like comedians first and then they were YouTubers. This whole thing where they use YouTube as the channel, the creative like platform to express themselves. But they have this like creative desire. And I basically took like Drew Gooden commentary style and filmmaker first, YouTuber second thing, and put them together, and out came Film Guy Max. Again, like I'm sure you kind of got the concept by now, but I was called the film guy since 2015. I was far from the only creative in my school. I was senior in high school at the time. I had befriended a bunch of the drama kids, like the theater kids and stuff, but nobody else in my school that I knew of anyway was making movies. And so they all called me the film guy. So I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm Film Guy Max. And so out came the channel. So I did the Matt Pat method. I made the 5 videos and then an additional bonus video. Wow. I'm almost 30, still having voice cracks. They don't go away, folks. They just get, less. Anyways, so yeah, and I did this bonus video because Jax Films made this stupid thing where he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna see about like having a new host for my series." Yeah, yesterday I asked you, so I was like, "Yeah, screw it, I'll throw my hat in the ring for that." It got me a decent amount of recognition. That was very cool. But again, that was sort of the idea, is that I feel like as a creative, especially if you're pursuing it as more than a passion, but like a fully formed like career, like I was like, yo, I'm in this, like I want to be a filmmaker. Anytime somebody's like, oh, what do you want to do with your life, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make movies, right? The stakes get higher and higher and higher, and your expectations for yourself get higher and higher and higher. So ultimately, you have to find, at least in my experience, a second form of creative outlet where the stakes are nothing. You don't expect anything, right? And that's what the Film Guy Max channel was. I was like, I'm gonna start YouTube and just see what the hell happens. I don't, if they get no views, whatever. If they get like thousands of views, hell yeah. You know, like I had no expectations whatsoever. So it was, I think, literally New Year's Day, January 1st of this year, 2026, where I was like, all right, I'm coming out of this depressive episode. And I kind of just like, I was like, I I had regained my energy, so to speak. Like I let myself do what I needed to do to recover from those big events in 2025. So here we are. And I gave myself a launch date of the 27th of February, 2026. And I was like, these 5 videos plus the bonus one are going to be finished, and that is when I'm going to launch them. And frankly, I was pretty hush hush about it. I didn't really tell anybody that I was doing this. And I kind of just like dropped the bomb on like my social medias pretty much the day of, like, hey, I started this new YouTube channel, you know, support me, whatever. And originally it was an outlet for me to express myself with very low stakes, but then also be like, hey, if you like who I am as a person and what I have to say, and you know, you're subscribed for this reason or that reason, you might also enjoy my movies. Go check them out. But something I did not anticipate is just how much I would love doing YouTube. It was like this weird light bulb moment where it was very much like filmmaking in that you had to use a lot of the same skills. You had to be in front of a camera, you had to, you know, have charisma and do this and whatever, and you know, and you had to script it out. I mean, you don't have to, but like for the professional looking YouTube videos, you had to script it out. You had to, you know, have charisma on camera, which, you know, I feel like I did. You know, I have sort of this like bubbly personality, but then you also had to be like decently good at editing. Oh boy, I freaking love editing. I'm not going to go into a giant ramble here, but it is my favorite part of making any kind of video, which is so funny because I think the only edit I'm going to do in this is the thing where my iPad ran out of storage, so LMAO. So it's very similar to filmmaking, but it's much more in the moment, because with films, you know, again, based on the story that I told you about my feature film, you finished filming in 2023, and then you spend 2 years editing it before anybody can see it. And especially if you have like cast and crew that are like, hey, when's the movie coming out? You know, or if you told friends or family, hey, you know, like I'm making this movie, they're all like excited for you. It's like, hey, when's this movie coming out? It's like, I don't know. It's gonna be a while, guys. Stay tuned. And you're saying that for 2 fucking years. Whereas with YouTube, especially the way that I did it, is that you it's a much shorter turnaround time. I gave myself a deadline of making a video once every 2 weeks, which so far I have stuck to. It's pretty manageable. It's, you know, it can be a little tight. I knew if I did once a week, I would burn myself out. But I was like, okay, once every 2 weeks feels natural enough where I could make this work. And so far so good. But again, like the turnaround time is so much shorter, and the feedback you get is so much quicker, because once you upload it, like you can start seeing the views climbing, the comments coming in, the likes pouring in, the support, and the hate, honestly. So like if you make a video that bombs or like that people don't like, you immediately see that. And people don't hold back, and that's just, I don't know, something about it is very appealing as somebody who has made movies and is like, you know, the only time you ever actually get real-time feedback is either when you post it online, which again you can't do until the damn thing is finished, or you hold a screening, or like, I don't know, submit it to a film festival or whatever, and you get to see in person, like people watch it in real time and give feedback with their reactions, which are both great, but you have to wait a fucking millennia until the movie's done in order to get that. And that's frustrating as hell. As somebody who, again, has ADHD and just cannot, I, all my life, I fucking hated waiting for things like that. With YouTube, it's just, I don't know, it's rewarding. And every time I publish a video and I see the feedback and I see people responding to it, it immediately makes me want to go into the next one. As opposed to like with filmmaking, it's like I'm already working on the next one by the time, this thing drops, and I'm already like, once the movie is done, I'm pretty much like done with that movie, like mentally. I'm just like, all right, let's get it out. Whatever people think, I don't even care anymore. I'm working on the next one. Again, like it's just ugh. So yeah. So I'm gonna stop rambling now, but that's why, as an almost 30-year-old, I decided to do YouTube again, is because I love the idea of connecting with people on a different level than I ever could by just making movies. You shouldn't give a flying crap what your age is or where you are in life or whatever. If you have the urge to do something like YouTube or whatever creative thing, fucking do it, dude. The only person stopping you is you.